Let's talk storytelling because since the beginning, Instagram has been a storytelling app. All of these platforms out there are meant for connection and connecting with humans. So let's dive into that today because I feel like, again, anytime that people are frustrated with Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, I'm like, let's go back to basics. And the basics are storytelling. And if you can tell a story, well, no, I know you can tell a story. Like, don't tell me you can't tell a story. You can tell a story. So if you can tell a story, you can create a really good piece of content. Now, let's say you're at a dinner party, and what's that story that you know everyone's gonna be like, lean in, pay attention, put down their fork, and like drink their wine and dive in, right? Now, I will say I'm not a great storyteller. I go on and on and on. I can't shut up. I ramble. That's the beauty of editing, right? That's the beauty of having InShot or CapCut or whatever you use to edit. You can use Instagram too, obviously. My talk to camera reels are always about minute to 90 seconds. They're 5 minutes. When I'm done yapping, who's a yapper? When I'm done yapping, I go in and I edit and I take out all the fluff, right? That probably also comes easy to me because my background in TV production and things like that. But still, just like when my talk to cameras, I usually sit on them for like a day and kind of tweak and as I go and just kind of like, if it's really long, I'm like, what was I saying? Do I need to say this? And I'll show my husband. He's like, you can take that whole part out. I'm like, all right, word. With that said, Instagram is a storytelling app. Does that mean you have to talk to the camera and tell a 90-second story? No, we tell stories with our simple B-roll with text as well. We tell stories when we do a POV, but at the end of the day, it is a storytelling app where people connect, okay? I'm going to say this real quick. If you're scared to show your face on camera, get over it. I hate to say it. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but if you are like Shannon, I can't get people to buy from me and you can't get people to follow you, and I go to your account and I can't even tell who's behind the account, there's your problem right there. I actually have a client who we've been working with, their social media client, management client for years and years and years. And they're now taking social media in-house. And I'm like, good, because I don't live near them anymore because we moved out of North Carolina. I can't physically show up and tell their story and show what they're doing behind the scenes. I'm not there. And this is why a lot of people who hire social media managers, I'm like, that's not going to solve it. And this is no social media managers, hear me out. I'm a social media manager too. I manage local accounts that I can go into and create content for. Or if you're a social media manager of products, right? Products don't need as many faces of the person, but you still do. You still do. If you go to look at like Kendra Scott, for instance, or Poppy, I know the founder's face. I know what they look like. I know their kids, right? So I always tell people if you do sell a product, I would have faces or at least the founder face, at least one in every like 9, the grid, right? With that said, when you're telling stories, you're creating an experience, right? When we listen to other people's stories, we see ourselves in that story. So let's say you tell me a story about how you started your business and that you were down and out. I'm like, I'm seeing myself because I'm like, same, right? We relate to each other's stories. We feel seen in your stories. We feel heard, but we also in stories are given a reason to love you more and relate to you more and share your content and root for you, right? I feel like even though I've been drinking Poppy for like 2+ years now, and it only recently blew up in the past year everywhere. And even though they don't know who the heck I am, I'm like, I feel a little bit responsible for helping them because I would share their stuff and I would tell everyone how good it was. We become so attached to brands, and Poppy has a story. They were on Shark Tank, right? It started as this other thing. There are reasons I feel attached to that brand in other ways than other things. Everyone's like, well, what's the other one? Olipop or something. I'm like, no, I'm a Poppy girly till I die. Like this is how we get connected to brands. Okay. So I'll just say that for products. Yes, you need to be showing your face. But the other cool thing about products, especially on TikTok, if you look at Poppy, look at Taco Bell, my other favorite place in the world. You look at Nordstrom. If you go to Nordstrom, even if you go to Nordstrom's site, the videos with the articles of clothing are someone who works at Nordstrom in San Francisco showing how to wear it. It's someone at the Nordstrom in South Dakota. I don't know. It's so cool. They do different. Have you noticed that ever? They do different locations in different stores, and it's actually like employees and stylists at the said store. They're not influencers. They're just the people in the company. It's the same reason, again, like I said, Poppy. They do all this content that's fun with their employees. So yeah, so there you go. And same thing with Kendra Scott. Like I tell a lot of jewelry people, go look at what they're doing, because when they open a new store, you see the employees, there's faces, right? It's the reason why every Chick-fil-A has its own Instagram. And a lot of those Instagrams have tons of followers because the people going to that Chick-fil-A know Sally behind the register. They know Ken who's serving their mini biscuits. You guys, storytelling and human. I can't stress it. And I feel like that we need to go back to basics because it is missing big time. And the ones, but guess what? Not for everyone, because everyone's still going viral and going ham on Instagram. I know what they look like. I know what their voice sounds like. So with that said, let's go through some reels that are going viral right now. Oh, but like I said, with the company that I worked with for like 6 years, and now they're taking it in-house. Again, I was like, good, because you guys need to be documenting your day in stories. You need to be documenting everything you're doing, and you need to get the founders involved and get them in the content. And I can't do that from Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'm just saying, if you are like really frustrated and maybe you have given all of the stuff to someone else to do, like a social media manager, if you're not giving that social media manager stories to pull from, behind the scenes photos and videos, you're doing them a disservice. So hook them up, okay? All right, now I'm gonna go through the Reels tab. Here's one, 47 likes, so that means over probably hundreds of thousands of views. It says, POV, you and your boyfriend love to eat dinner in front of the TV, so you buy the perfect lift up coffee table. So obviously she's probably got a link to that table. So simple, do you see it? And it's McDonald's sleigh. Let's see, our lift up is my happy place. So again, it tells, but do you see what, you know what I'm seeing when I'm looking at this? Oh, me and Ryan would look so cute doing that. Like, you guys, that's what our brain does. So when we're telling a story, that's telling a story. She told a story that every night, this is what she and her boyfriend do. Okay. And she just demonstrated it. We see ourselves. This is a hilarious reel. This guy's been going viral. This is like his third one like this. He's joking about kava being awful. And we all know kava is the best. So he goes, kava is the worst food ever. And so he jokes. He's like, man, this was so bad. And then he puts the tray in front and the food is like gone, like demolished. Talking to the camera, so automatically builds trust. Over 37,000 likes. So if you're in food or you have a restaurant, you'd be like, man, they really missed on this new fall, whatever. And then you're like, it's gone, right? All right, here's another one. This is your sign to make pumpkin cinnamon roll pancakes. Now, again, not quite storytelling, but for the food bloggers, but it kind of is. Again, we see ourselves, we're like, you're giving us an idea. That's another thing that goes viral a lot, is just giving people a suggestion, an idea. Hey, I found this thing, you should try it. I went to this thing, you should try it. We're experiences. So storytelling and experiences are big, guys. And like I said, relatability. You guys, I binge all these episodes. I talk about this stuff till I'm blue in the face. When I say storytelling, I want to find a couple so I can really dive into it. All right, here's another one. And obviously a lot of storytelling is vulnerable. Now, hers says, I was raised in a household where drinks were filled before my needs were met. So obviously anyone who's dealing with that, is going to see it or dealt with that, is going to feel that, right? So you don't have to talk to the camera if you don't want to, but obviously I'm going to beg you to. Okay, here is another version of storytelling. Now, this is what's cool about this, and I want you to really take this in. What's cool about this reel is she did it with just some B-roll, trending audio, and a text overlay with the text, okay? Since it did so well, she could easily turn this into another reel and talk to the camera. And she can now have 2 reels for 1, okay? And just so you know, if you're trying to grow on TikTok, talk to the camera. That's what is going nuts over there. We just want you to pick up your phone like you're waiting in line at whatever, or you're going through the grocery store. I mean, we love it. We love it. It looks like Instagram stories. That's just a little side note if you're trying to grow on TikTok. TikTok is a whole other beast, but that is what works for me. That's what works for a lot of people. The more you just go, oh my gosh, this crazy thing just happened. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I want you to talk when you are telling a story. I just got off the phone with a client and this is what happened. I just left this house and this is what happened. I just got this on sale and let me tell you something about my kids loving it so much, blah, blah, blah. This is what it says. It says, this year I listed 3 friends as emergency contacts for my daughter's school. When I asked them, I knew they'd say yes, but something about their text back made me want to cry. Thinking how lucky I am that if I needed them, they'd be there for my kids. I already knew they would, but writing their names and numbers on that form hit different. To all the women who show up as family, as someone's community, your love means everything. To all the women who hope to find this, it's out there. The reason this is so brilliant and the reason this did so well for this creator, 1, every mom's going to feel this. 2, it's detailed and specific, right? We talk about that a lot. And 3, she made the reader the hero. Now we can go into that. That's a whole nother podcast episode. But when you are telling a story, and I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to talk about myself. You talk about yourself and then you turn it to the person reading it. That's what she did. She said, how blessed am I? How cool is this? You deserve this too. That is how you tell a story. That is how you connect. That is how you get engagement up, my friend. You go back to basics and tell a simple story. So here's a couple examples for you to take and run with. Let's say you are in baking, cooking, etc. You could say, this is the meal I make every time my family comes to town. Right? That's still telling a story. It's not just here's a recipe for some blah, blah, blah. As social media managers, I just helped my client go viral. Here's how we did it. That's still telling a client story. And then, of course, you can tell stories of everyday life, something funny that happened with your kids, something funny that happened with your pet, something cool that happened when you were at the gas station, and segue it into your business. Here's another example. 83,000 likes, almost 7,000 shares, or over 6,500 shares. My daughter was playing at the pool with another little girl on a large floaty. When the girl accidentally slipped off, an older boy jumped on. Both girls shrunk back, defeated. The other mom jumped into coach mode. Tell him I was playing with that. Her daughter said, I can't say that. I don't want to be mean. The mom replied, it's not mean to stand up for yourself. You can take up space just like he can. Now use your confident voice and go get it. Her brave daughter spoke up. The boy said, oh, sorry. And soon both girls were playing again. I will be thinking about this the rest of my life. Like, just told, oh, and of course the comments, some people are arguing, but most people are like, oh, I love that. You can tell a story. If you are still like, Shannon, I don't want to show my face, I don't want to tell a story, there you go. Okay, you can do it that way with just some text overlay. Other ways to tell stories is obviously your founder story. If you go to my Instagram, it is pinned. You always want to make sure you have that pinned because we connect to stories. When I can't tell you how many times people go to find my account and they're like, who's this bozo? Right? Talking Instagram, why do I believe her? Why should I listen? And they go to my founder story and they DM me and they're like, oh my gosh, I loved that so much. It was so cool getting to know your story. So again, when all else fails, go back to storytelling. To the contractor who's like, who cares? Yes, we do. Talk about the story of how you walked into your client's house and the reason they want to do the project they do is because they want to keep the history of this blah, 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 because it represents blank. If you are, again, a candle maker, talk about the reason you started these candles was because you were getting headaches from whatever. Everything can be a story, everything. And it's a lot more interesting to us. And you can still turn that story into education, something funny, something helpful, something where they feel heard. Those two of those women talking about the kids and things like that, very vulnerable, very heard, empathetic content. We love that stuff. And we share it with all our friends, blah, blah, blah. So if you're struggling, start telling a story, start small, start by getting on Instagram stories and talking about your day or something cool that happened. Put your sunglasses on and just talk. No more of this faceless stuff. Show your face. That's how you make good content. You make people feel connected to you, period. The more we feel connected, the more we resonate with your core values, your voice, your beliefs, your kindness, your humor, your sassiness, whatever it is. We're going to follow you. We're going to come back to your account and we're going to share your stuff with the world. There you go. Love you, friends. Talk to you next week. Mwah.